Hello, Chris Ballasini, and welcome to today's case study on being realistic about what your house is actually worth. And the reason I'm standing outside this house here is number 41 Leanne Street in Forest Hill, that over the last 5 years or so, it has been on the market multiple times, and with each time it's gone to the market, the vendor has wanted more than it's worth. They haven't understood that their house is not quite what they think it's worth. As you can see now, it's very run down, overgrown grass. The inside, there's water stains in the roof. There's a whole lot of things that are wrong with this house. By all means, if they were to put some money and time into improving it, they could probably get a fairly good result. But instead, they're quite happy to have let it go, so to speak, and keep moving up as the market move up, but in an unrealistic fashion. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to go and look at a few other properties in the area, in the exact same street, so to be exact, that have sold in the last month. So in the last month, there's been 3 other results, and this particular owner, like when I spoke to him just over a year ago and it was last on the market, they wanted $1.3 million, just to give you a bit of an idea on the value they were chasing. Prior to that, about 3 or 4 years prior to that, when I first noticed this property on the market, at the time, similar properties were selling for close to about $1 million, and they wanted 1.1. So as the market has moved, so has their expectations. So what it tells me is that either they don't get it, or they actually don't want to sell. They just want to kind of hold on and see what happens in the future. And one day, they will sell, and the market will give them a sort of a rude awakening on what their home is actually worth. But in the meantime, let's go check out these 3 other properties, and I'll sort of explain their value and why I think they got the result they got, and why this one's probably worth only land value. So this property here, which is located at the top of the street, number 1 Leanne, is in a different postcode, so it's in a more desired postcode, being Blackburn South, not Forest Hill. However, as you can see, there's a big tree in the front yard, and in the backyard there's kind of a similar circumstance. The other thing was, when I viewed this property, as you went through, there's lots of cracks in plaster, the floorboards are clearly very uneven, so needed stubbing, needed a lot of work, and often weatherboard homes are not viewed as favourably as brick homes. So as you compare your home to others, you have to take these things into consideration, because you don't always know if a building inspection's been done, what the faults are, what the costs are to rectify to get it up to scratch. So always bear that in mind, whether that be a good result or a bad result. The fact is, you may not know, and to get that information, you can often just ring the agent and have a bit of a conversation on why a certain price was achieved in a certain marketplace. So in this one, you can understand how some buyers would not want to compare it, because it kind of didn't get the best result, but it got a fair result based on the product it was. And I would say it's going to be a more land value type proposition for this home. So this property here sold for $1.225 million. Now, the one across the road, just a few doors up, so to speak, less than 100 metres away, sold for about $200,000 more than that. And the reason being is that this particular property, as you can see, it's near Parkland, beautiful location. It's on the opposite side of the street, so less desirable. Not that it's not desirable, it's because the other side backs onto Parkland, so that one is a premium. But the major factor was that there's an easement running through the backyard on this property. So unlike others where you can knock down and rebuild pretty much whatever you want to, this is very, very limited on what you can do in the future. And therefore, the interest was low for the property. The agent actually told me, he said, "Chris, we're going to auction, but because of that particular easement, we're very nervous about the whole situation. We got a good offer, very strong offer prior to auction, and the best move was to move forward with that particular result and sell for $1.225 million. So it just goes to show that just being in the same street, similar house, I'd say overall, can have a huge difference for factors that are running under the ground. If you were, again, like the one at the top of the street, if you were to look at factors purely on the house, how that's presented, the land size, it doesn't take into account the easement under the home, which is the biggest factor in this case. Okay, so I'm actually going to say this is the problem property in this whole scenario. Not their fault, and it's a good result they got. They sold for over $1.4 million recently, and they are a premium property. It backs onto the reserve. The house is in good condition. There's a whole lot of factors why this property sold for $1.4 million plus. The problem is that my friend down the road who would have seen this result and seen the other two results would be pegging this particular result against theirs and going, well, my house is now worth at least 1.4 because clearly mine is better than theirs. You know, mine's got 4 bedrooms. You know, despite the fact that this one has 4 bedrooms too, this, you know, 2 bathrooms, everything's very similar. So they would see the similarities and not the differences. So again, as a vendor, if you are looking to go to market, by all means look at other properties, but be realistic on what yours is worth and why. So in this case, I do believe my friend down the road, if they did up their house, by all means, there is evidence now that there is a $1.4 million result that could be achieved. What they can't ever do to replicate though is the reserve over the back fence. So there's always going to be that difference of not having that premium property. But if they were to do their property up, render it, renovate, put new kitchens in, all those types of things, they could certainly achieve a good result. So just to wrap up this case study, as you can see, this property is land value only, I believe, and the other properties, it probably sits somewhere in between. It's going to be better than the one down the road with the easement, and you know, the one with the tree at the top, potentially. So I do believe it would sit above that level, but it would certainly sit below the one that achieved over $1.4 million. So my advice, if this is my client, I would say to you, hey, look, if you do want to sell, we have to be realistic with this process. And if you went to market today, you may achieve that low 1.3 million dollar mark. But if your expectation is any higher than that, it's probably not going to come to fruition, and you're going to go through this cycle again of going to market, not selling, taking it off the market, and trying again in a few years' time. So again, one of the most important things when I speak to my clients is, are you realistic in this process? Because if you are, then we can move forward. If you're not quite ready, that is fine. But you just understand that a comparable sale is not always what you see on the surface. Chris Palisady, hope this has been useful. Signing out, bye for now.